Let's look at this question. Southwest Airlines runs flights from 8 cities in US, namely Jacksonville, Jackson, Austin, Denver, St. Louis, Portland, St. Paul, and Phoenix. 4 of these flights terminate at Philadelphia, while the remaining 4 terminate at LaGuardia. Each of these flights has an intermediate stopover at one of the 4 airports: Kansas City, Nashville, Richmond, and Cincinnati. Okay, the following points are known. So there are 8 origin stations, there are 2 destination stations, and there are 4 stopover stations. We'll make a table. Table will go something like this: origin and destination. Now the stopover, because the information is given to stopovers not at. So I'll write down all the possible stopovers, which are Kansas City, Nashville, Richmond, and Cincinnati. So let me just make lines and to capture this information. One, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now the places are Jacksonville and Jackson, and Austin and Denver and St. Louis and Portland and St. Paul and Phoenix. Now we were also told where their stopovers don't lie. So I can cancel that out. Jacksonville is not at Cincinnati, not at Kansas City. Jackson is not at Nashville, not at Kansas City. Not at Nashville, not at Kansas City. Austin is not at Nashville, not at Richmond. Denver is not at Cincinnati, not at Richmond. St. Louis is not at Cincinnati, not at Kansas City. Okay. And Portland is Nashville and Cincinnati out. Nashville out, Cincinnati out, Richmond out, Kansas City out for St. Paul, and Nashville out and Richmond out for Phoenix. This is our starting point. We know, although this comes later, the following table shows the information on the intermediate stopovers that are not taken by different flights. I've captured it first so that the following points interpretation I can do. Okay. First point is, out of the 3 flights that have stopovers at Kansas City, 2 terminate at Philadelphia and 1 terminates at LaGuardia. See, there are 4 spots left for in Kansas City column. So 3 of them have to be occupied. The only thing I can infer right now is 3 cells in this column will get filled because 3 flights will have stopovers here. Okay. Now, the fact about 2 terminate at Philly and 1 terminates at LaGuardia, we can't really capture right now. Next, the only flight that has a stopover at Richmond terminates at LaGuardia. Okay, so there is just one single flight that has a stopover at Richmond, and this terminates at LaGuardia. We'll worry later. Next, out of the 2 flights that have stopovers at Nashville, 2 flights that have stopovers at Nashville. Now there are 8 flights in total. We know stopover flights that have stopover at Kansas City as 3, at Nashville as 2, at Richmond as 1. So Cincinnati will also have 2 flights that have stopover here. That is nice. For the Nashville flights, one terminates at Philly while the other terminates at LaGuardia. Okay. 4. The flights originating at St. Louis, St. Paul, Denver, and Portland terminate at LaGuardia. St. Louis, St. Paul, Denver, and Portland. These 4 terminate at LaGuardia. And this is extremely good information for us. because not only do I know which flights terminate here, I also know which flights will now terminate at Philadelphia. And this will breathe life into the clues we have just gone through. This is clue number 4 that told us this, but now this will breathe new life into clue number 1. Now look at clue number 1. Out of the 3 flights that have stopover at Kansas City, 2 terminate at Philadelphia. Austin terminates at Philadelphia, Denver does not, Portland does not, Phoenix terminates at Philadelphia. So if there are 2 flights that have stopover in Kansas City and also terminate in Philadelphia, it can only be if it is Austin and Phoenix. As soon as we have that, we can cancel this out and we can cancel this out because one flight will only have one stopover. With this, we also know now Cincinnati is supposed to have 2 flights that have their stopovers. There are only 2 spots left in this column. So this is also guaranteed. This is also guaranteed. So this is also gone. And this is also gone. And our life is happier. Our life is happier. We are completely done with the column of Cincinnati. For Kansas City, I need 1 more. For Nashville, I need 2 more. For Richmond, I need 1 more. I don't know. But see, we were still at the first point. First point, 2 terminate at Philly. The 2 that terminate at Philly, I know. But Denver and Portland, which of these terminate at LaGuardia and has stopover at Kansas City? I don't know, so I'll work forward. The only flight that has a stopover at Richmond terminates at LaGuardia. So that tells me, see, Richmond will not have the flight coming in from Jacksonville because it terminates in Philadelphia. Now, both these, St. Louis and Portland, they do terminate at LaGuardia, so I can't rule them out. But nicely, for Jacksonville, I can be sure it is definitely terminating in Nashville now. It is definitely terminating in Nashville now. That is nice. Next point, out of the 2 flights that have stopovers at Nashville, one terminates at Philadelphia. We've already identified that is Jacksonville flight, while the other terminates at LaGuardia. The 2 other possibilities, Denver, St. Louis, they can terminate at LaGuardia. So now, look at these 3. These 3 are the ones we don't know how they get distributed. These 3 can go to either Kansas City or Nashville or Richmond. Let's say Denver can go to Kansas City. If it goes to Kansas City, then I can fill out everything straight away. If Portland goes to Kansas City, I can fill out everything straight away. But until that time, we are sure of that, we can't really fill it out. We are absolutely certain of Jacksonville, Jackson, Austin, St. Paul, and Phoenix flights. But for Denver, Lewis, and Portland, we don't know the interim wherever they have their stopover. That destination we don't. Let's get to individual questions. The intermediate stopovers as well as terminating airports of how many of the 8 flights can be uniquely determined? Of course, 5 of them. Only for 3 we are unsure. Denver, St. Louis, and Portland. For everything else, we are absolutely certain. So for 5 we know. Next, the originating airports as well as terminating airports of how many of the 3 flights that have stopovers at Kansas City can be uniquely determined. Basically, they're asking how many ticks do you have in the Kansas City column. For Austin and Phoenix, we know, but between Denver and Portland, which one is it? We don't know. And therefore, the answer to the second question is 2. Now, question 7. We have additional information for question 3 or 4. Question 7 says, or the additional information says, the flight that originates at Portland has a stopover at Richmond. Okay, so this is Richmond. So this is out. This is out. This is in. This is out. This is in. This entire column, the entire distribution is now known. So the question, the intermediate stopovers as well as terminating airports of how many of the 8 flights can be uniquely determined? All 8. For all of them, now we know what is the origin, what is the destination, and what is the intermediate stopover airport that they get at. Finally, the flight that originates at Portland has a stopover at Richmond, same thing. At which of the following airports does the flight originating at St. Louis have an intermediate stopover? St. Louis is this one. It has an intermediate stopover at Nashville. So option C. And that is the entirety of this set.